Being involved with the Knight Foundation means good things for higher education. If you are anything in the world of journalism and mass communication education, then you have a relationship with the Knight Foundation.
The Knight Foundation has been around since 1950. It was originally started by the brothers and more focused on scholarship, but it has continued to grow. They obviously had done well in business. They had done well for the newspapers and the culture such. They wanted to give back a portion, in my opinion, had to be a pretty large portion of all that they had gained through their business through the years. So they were philanthropists in the truest sense. The foundation, as of 2006, had given away over $1 billion. That would be $1 billion in grants since its inception in 1950. What they have done throughout the country is over 20 institutions have all got a Knight chair. Last I heard, there were 22 different institutions with 24 Knight chairs, and we're very fortunate to have one of those.
It's obviously a great feather in the cap of the University of Georgia and its Grady College to have the Knight Chair in Health and Medical Journalism.
So you always want to ask about that.
What the Knight Foundation wanted to do, wanted to bring practitioners, working journalists, into the academic setting. Because we just see things a little differently. We have a slightly different skill set than the people who came up through PhD programs and came into journalism education that way.
But 4 blog posts, it's about your work in the course, what you learn, what you're thinking about.
My students now, you know, they blog, they tweet, they set up web pages. Their work appears mostly online.
Like, and just go from shot to shot.
I moved increasingly to having them work in video storytelling, visual storytelling, because you don't have to be a genius to read all the polls that say most people get their news about health and medicine from television and from videos online and from online news sources. So obviously that's what our graduate students should be doing.
So we're going to screen, Deanna, is yours a video or a sound slide?
You just really have to keep rolling with the punches. I had to create the graduate program one course at a time.
Yeah, but it is kind of dramatic the first time we watched it.
So I just kind of hang around in the hallways near the Dean for Graduate Studies, and I'd be like the person over in the corner saying, "Psst, come over here. Health and medical journalism. Boots on the ground reporting, out in the community, writing real stories, publishing stories. Does that sound like fun? Come with me."
I actually didn't even apply for the health and medical journalism program, but Pat, wanted to meet with me and tell me why I should do it. Pat actually recruited me.
She sent me an email saying, I definitely think you should come and take a tour of the school. I'd never been to Athens. I didn't even know how to get to Athens.
I had never taken any health classes. I wasn't a science person. I didn't know anything about the health or medical field.
It was after I met Pat that I was just 100% sure that this was the program for me.
If we wanted a strong human interest lead, that would be a good place to start. I mean, when you are a journalist, you are constantly dropped, physically or metaphorically, into new worlds that you know nothing about. No, the cost to the hospital itself. Certainly, as a science writer, covering some really cutting-edge biology, that happened to me every week, that I'd be dropped into some world I knew nothing about, or who the experts were, or how it worked. But I was pretty good at figuring it out. And so these are the skills that I want my students to have, and that's how they develop them. That looks good, girls. That really looks good. Dean Barbara Schuster and I began to talk before they ever had a building or enrolled their first students about how journalism students learning to cover medicine could work with a new medical school.
He wants to go into pediatrics or general. He probably has
People forget that I think that there are 138 accredited medical schools in the United States. So a new one is a big deal. I knew it would be a big deal.
The med school project is actually, we're all working on it, but there's different beats. There's the student beat, there's the university beat, and there's the community beat.
Have someone that understands sort of your lifestyle.
We worked on our story. It's called The Prescription for Love, and it's about students, med students, and their relationships and how they're dealing with the relationships while being in school full time.
It's really going to be great 20 years from now to go back and look at that footage and to see how much they've grown and, how they saw themselves.
It's not that I don't care about her, it's just my nature is to get really focused on stuff.
Every story is a health story. It's a great angle to get at issues that matter to people, policy, poverty, any sort of disparity. A health angle is something that anybody can identify with because it's part of being human.
Did everybody have a chance to read Andy's story?
This is a professional program, so whereas a lot of people in this graduate school at Grady, they're studying mass media, you know, from a theoretical standpoint, we are the media. Trying to connect them together. And we really are doing as we're learning and learning as we're doing. Because that was the part that you remembered, was the part about our family.
We are pioneers. I think that there aren't that many programs of this type. So the type of training that we're getting is far and few in between, but it's much needed, because if you're specializing in telling these stories, you need to understand the health angle, but you also need to understand the human angle. And I think that the program definitely has helped us see how to do both, and how to do it in such a way that it's interesting and that people understand why it matters.
I think this is the best choice I've made academically. I was going to do just journalism, but I don't think that I would have the resources with, you know, Pat's intellect, all the people that she knows, all the connections, all the places I've gotten to go to, all the things that I've got to see. Like, it's just really, I'm so happy with my decision.
I feel like I have purpose. I know what I want to do with my life, and I know who I want to help, where I want to focus my efforts, and I love it.
My hope, my conviction is that over the next 7 years or so, I would like to see this become one of the top tier science, health, medicine, or environment graduate programs in the country. That's my goal for before I shuffle off to play tennis, garden, and cook for the rest of my life.
The Knight Foundation is illustrative of what 20th century journalism left as legacy. And that legacy now is being put out there in this great transformational time for journalism, an era that everybody says is the product and function of disruptive technology. And what they are doing is helping higher education and journalism navigate to a new shore.